Hi guys, today is what?
I don't know. It's 2021 January something.
Y'all.
It's already, we're a month. It feels like we're 6 months into 2021. So it's June 2021.
We had to come in here this morning. Today's Thursday, guys. January.
I think it's the 7th. I don't know.
January 7th, guys. Yesterday's been a blur. It's all a blur at this point. When I tell you it is ridiculously early this morning, you guys are going to have to please excuse the sleepiness in our eyes, the puffiness in our eyes. We have been up all night long trying to piece together, trying to make some type of sense out of the last few hours, guys. 2020 has come in with gasoline draws.
2020 left.
2021 with gasoline draws. Yeah. And then 2021 has said, you know what?
Hold my beer.
Not to be outdone, I'm gonna come in flaming too. So just a really quick PSA, guys. If you have tissue paper feelings, this may not be the video for you. There are a host of other videos here on the channel, but if you are easily stressed, easily moved, I don't know, this may not be the video for you. So what we are coming in to do today, guys, like I said, is try to make some sense out of what happened on yesterday. If you were living under a rock on yesterday, you know what happened, especially a rock at the Capitol building. So
let me just say this. So the theme of what happened, so we got a bunch, the reason I'm looking down is because I literally have a laptop because I'm reading the headlines as they come in.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do something, or we wanted to do something a little bit different, because I feel like the sense in the community, it's a weird emotional feeling, because it's two sides. On the one side, there's a lot of vindication, and some of it is, quite frankly, a little funny in a tragic way. And the other side, there's a lot of frustration. It's just a weird emotion. So, yeah.
So let's start out with what happened yesterday here in Georgia. All right, Eric, I will be the neutral party, if you will. All right, so I think I'll ask you questions to kind of keep this neutral.
Right.
Also, let me say this too. If you have been a long time member here on the channel, you guys know that Eric and I have love for everybody. Every skin color, every skin hue, every skin hue. We're here, we love everyone. All right, so if you are offended, I feel, by anything that is said here today,
you're probably on the extreme side. If you're, this is going to be pretty. I think anybody that's rational will see what we're talking about. If you're offended, you're easily offended, and you're probably on the fringe a little bit.
Right, so you're probably gonna tip out anyway. Yeah. And we've appreciated you over here. Thank you so much for the love. All right, so what happened here yesterday in Georgia?
So I'm gonna put this in the vindication column, because I'm happy, we're happy about this.
Yes.
Ossoff and Warnock.
Georgia for the win.
And this is the funny part, because I said it's funny too, because Trump came down here and basically handed them the win. He came down here and made it all about him, and him still losing the election, and didn't really campaign. He didn't even know. I think her name is Kelly Loeffler. He called her Karen Loeffler. Karen Loeffler. Like, he could give a damn about.
I love that he used, her name was Karen.
He is such a sociopath. He lost the election for him, and that's hilarious to me. And it's a great victory.
Right. And so what was the significance with those two wins on yesterday?
There is a 50-50 even split in the Senate. And so that means when they vote, it's a tie, but Kamala Harris is the tiebreaker. So essentially, you have a Democratic House, Democratic Congress, Democratic Senate. Those are the same thing. And then, of course, the president. So it's a Democratic majority in the two. And
so really briefly, again, the significance with those two individuals, I guess I should have stated.
They broke the tie. It was 48-50, and now it's 50-50 with Kamala Harris being the tiebreaker.
And so for those of you who are not, privy to what has been going on with this particular race, Warnock, who was running
against Kelly Loeffler,
right, not Karen, is a black minister
of Ebenezer Baptist Church, which is Martin Luther King's church here in Atlanta.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the significance in that is
He's the first black senator from a southern state, or from Georgia, ever.
Yes, that's what I was trying to get to. That's what I was trying to get to.
You had a black and a Jewish guy. John Ossoff is Jewish.
Right. Ossoff is
and very young. He's 33 years old. So truly amazing.
Right.
And it was an ugly camp. They did all the stuff that if you go back to the 60s, what would happen with Martin Luther King and civil rights? They were accused of being Marxists and socialists and all, and that's what they started to do with Warnock. Oh, he's a Marxist, he's a socialist, he hates America. They were bringing up, what's the guy's name? Jeremiah Wright from years ago when they brought that up with Obama because he said goddamn America in one of his sermons. They brought that up. It got ugly.
Yeah. And so there is the vindication side of this. We have an African American and a Jewish guy who, as Eric stated, is 33 years old, turned Georgia blue. So we are just really loving that.
I want to give a shout out to the Atlanta Dream and just black women in general. Kelly Loeffler is a co-owner of the Atlanta Dream. She was very anti-black lives.
Who's she married to?
She's married to the guy that owns the New York Stock Exchange.
Wealthy beyond belief. So why is she? Here's my thing. I think there should be a cap on how much money you have if you are going to run for a public office. Because here's the thing, the operative word here being public.
Right.
You need to be in touch with society, with the people.
And Warnock said that a lot in his campaign. He was basically, she's out of touch. Both of them, really. Purdue, the other guy's Purdue. Very, very wealthy. They're two of the wealthiest members of the Senate.
So why are you in that office?
Yeah.
Why are you holding that office? You are out of touch with what the people need. All right, so that was one vindication.
And I forgot, I want to say to the Atlanta Dream, she's the co-owner. They protested. They wore Vote Warnock shirts. So black women, Keisha Lance Bottoms, Stacey Abrams. I always get ready to say Stacey Adams. Stacey Abrams, just black women. A lot of these grassroots organizations really brought out the vote. I want to say this too. Georgia went blue. Georgia's a southern state. Georgia's in the Black Belt. The Black Belt is where the slaves were brought from Africa and live to this day. There are more black people in this part of the country than anywhere else in the United States. As Georgia goes blue,
blue for Georgia.
Alabama can go blue. Mississippi can go blue. Florida, they keep saying Florida's gonna go blue. I don't know if that's ever gonna happen, but we gotta vote. And I understand the reticence to vote. I understand that people think voting's not gonna change anything, but it's getting serious. It's becoming, I remember years ago they had this vote or die campaign. I think like Puffy was involved. It's that serious now. It's becoming a life or death situation as we saw at the Capitol, but I'm gonna let you.
All right, so again, that was vindication. That was vindication, not just for, when I say us, I'm not necessarily speaking specifically for African Americans. I mean us as members of this United States, these United States who are here for change and just.
Stacey Abrams lost the run for governor against Brian Kemp, who's the governor now. The way a lot of races get lost is because votes get taken away from minorities, from black people. They use all these laws and rules and regulations to take away the vote because you have more people of color. So you have to now work with those people of color, and the only way to get around that is to take them off the rolls.
Right.
So it's a victory for the diversity that is in the United States today, I think. Yeah.
Right. All right. And so another issue, Mr. Eric, that I want to speak to or have you speak to is the fact that the sitting President Trump has basically turned his back or just fired shots on everyone.
It has been hilarious. So here's the thing. A lot of this has nothing to do with politics. Trump is a sociopath. And that has very little to do, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever. He has taken everybody, all the way to Mike Pence, down that has worked with him. I won't even use my words. I'll use the words of Michael Cohen, who is one of Trump's former lawyers, who I think went to jail. He said before he went to jail, I should never have aligned myself with Trump. What happens when you align yourself with Trump is he ends up in the clear, but you end up going down. You end up going to prison or losing your reputation. And it's not just him. One of the guys, John Kelly, who I think was Trump's chief of staff, former general, worked with Trump, and I think Trump fired him. And afterwards, you know, he came out on record as saying Trump was the most dishonest man he ever worked with. Everything he did was for personal gain. And my question to him was, dude, you're a general. You're a former general. You didn't know. Like, that's your job. You manage thousands and thousands of people. You didn't know going into this that this man was low down and sneaky.
Right. And so I feel the vindication here is everyone who aligned themselves with this current president,
Going down.
they've just fallen off. Their careers are done. I know many of them were old and were probably on the verge of retirement anyway. So, you know, they really, you know, they're going to go on off and maybe write a book, but their careers, their professional careers in politics,
and these are
over.
Former CEOs, generals. I mean, these are people that were high up. And it's funny, it ended at Mike Pence is the last one. He finally turned his back on Mike Pence. Lindsey Graham made a big speech last night. Like he finally, like he was doing something, finally doing his job. He finally had to turn his back on Trump. Mitch McConnell's like.
And so I think what happened on yesterday, Trump realized that he was the last man standing, and that is when he made the speech saying, you know what, we're gonna go, we're gonna march, we're not going to leave it to Pence to do the right thing. And then speak on what he wanted Vice President Pence to do.
Well, here's what's funny about this whole election process, and that's a great question. First of all, it's a civics lesson for all of us, because I didn't even know. I knew about the Electoral College, but I didn't know it had to like then go to Congress and they had to count it. But it's all ceremonial.
Yeah.
The people have voted. He wanted, all Pence is really supposed to do, and all of them are really supposed to do, is just kind of read what the Electoral College
Well, what
said.
did he want Pence to
He
do?
wanted Pence and the Congress and the Senate to overturn it. But if you overturn a vote, that's a dictatorship. That's not a democracy. You would throw the entire globe into chaos if you did.
The net of what happened in that instance is he lost and he wanted a do-over.
And that worked. See, Trump was a crooked businessman for years, and that works. You can get away with that in the business world. You can't get away with that in the political world. Yeah.
And so let's now move into what happened on yesterday. He's fired shots at everybody. No one is in his corner anymore. He sees that. So now he fires up his
And this is another vindication. So Trump fires up all these protesters, says, march, and he's been saying this forever. March, go down to the Capitol. And he said, I'm going to march with you. I'm going to be there with you. He wasn't. He was in his bunker at the White House watching them storm the Capitol, put their life at risk, put all these police officers at risk. It was amazing. He threw them under the bus.
And so this part here can be seen as both vindication and frustration for those of us who want just a positive change. More specifically here, African Americans. I know when we started, I said that this is about African Americans, but it's also just about those of us who are wanting positive change. Here in this instance, when these individuals stormed the Capitol,
well, it was so funny because
frustration in the hearts, on the faces of African Americans, this was just appalling.
And this is where we make the transition from vindication to frustration. It was vindication because throughout the Black Lives Matter protests, there was, Blue Lives Matter and we got to support the police. And I said, I'm on record, I don't know what video I said, I always said, you know, the whole issue with the police and Black Lives Matter is really a right-wing issue if you think about it, because the right wing is all about the overstep of the government. They talk about Waco and all these incidents where the FBI came in and stormed different organizations and the overreach. And so that should have been a right-wing issue. But no, when black people protest, we got to respect Blue Lives Matter. The love affair between the police and those people should be over as of yesterday.
Yesterday, the police were pointing guns in the faces of these protesters. These protesters who've always said that they are for the police.
So now we transition to frustration because, did the police have a presence? Yeah, was it a presence like when black people protest? Absolutely
We saw clips just this morning where these police removed barricades and let the protesters go ahead and storm the Capitol building without any hindrance.
There was no National Guard. There was none of that. This summer, when there were protests here in Atlanta, In my neighborhood, I walked up the street past the mall and there were National Guard in the mall parking lot. And here's the thing. It's one thing to have a police. It's another thing to have a National Guard. It's a lot more intimidating when you see people in camouflage and camouflage trucks.
Yeah.
There was none of that. So there was no intimidation. It's just regular police and not even enough of them. So you're putting all the police at risk. And they're saying, and I don't know how true this is, that Trump delayed, and they had to have delayed it, calling out the National Guard, putting all those police at risk. All the people in the Senate working at the White House at risk.
The frustrations that were felt here in our house last night, and after being on the phone with countless friends and family members, in watching these individuals break the glass on the Capitol building, take flag poles and, you know, ram the door, Confederate flags, and ram the doors. How many black people, how many African Americans would have been killed on yesterday had the roles been reversed? If that had been any one of you, African Americans watching this right now.
Not the Capitol. There's no way.
There's no way we would have been left to go home.
To add insult to injury, it's not just what happened. Watch what happens after. There will be no punishment. I'm really frustrated. You know, they're talking about, here's the thing, Trump has, I guess, 13 days in office. No treason charges, no sedition charges, no impeachment. They've said that they haven't arrested that many of the rioters. I guess
I've only seen them arrest 3 people. That's just what I've seen. If you guys have seen more on television of the arrest, please drop down, leave a comment, let us know. But I saw them put 3 people in. And we all know what happened at Lafayette Square when they protested, flashbangs.
This is terrorism. This is domestic terrorism. And when we talk about, and you made a good point, you said, you know, this isn't just about black people. When we talk about the diversification of America and how America's become more diverse, you know, for years, brown people, people from the Middle East, you guys are terrorists.
Yeah.
You get harassed on planes. These are the terrorists. And then I tell you what, too, we have to be very careful. This is one protest. They found pipe bombs. They found all kind of stuff. There could be all kinds of bombings on state buildings. This isn't the end.
I am just appalled at the audacity and privilege.
Yeah.
As to how they were just allowed to go inside. There are pictures, and I'll insert the picture here, of an individual sitting in Nancy Pelosi's desk, at her desk with his feet on top of the desk.
In terms of, we all know American history. And there are events that happen, and there are pictures in your mind. Like, we all have a picture in our mind of 9/11. There's the picture of Martin Luther King at the Lorraine Motel where everybody's pointing. There's a picture of JFK in the back of the Lincoln Town Car. The visuals we will never forget of the dude on Nancy Pelosi's desk, the guy with the Confederate flag.
It's just disgusting. Yeah. It is disgusting. And so what is even more disgusting, I feel, is, again, watching the news this morning, and you have some Republicans, still coming out and not giving the blame to Trump that he so deserves.
So on Good Morning America this morning, they were interviewing Mark Wayne Mullen, who's a Republican
in Oklahoma.
You know, I think he did some great stuff to kind of keep people safe, but then George Stephanopoulos asked him, he said, you know, he basically said, hey, how do you feel about Trump kind of inciting this? He's like, oh no, Trump didn't incite this. It was the left and the right, and it was the media, and it's been 5 years.
And we have to do that. No, we were at home. We were home.
The country has to come together.
Was your son there yesterday? Was your father there yesterday? Was your spouse there yesterday? No, that was y'all.
Yeah.
That was y'all.
And on the media and stuff, they're saying, well, this is a turning point and things are going to change. I don't think so.
No, because
I think this will be justified.
These individuals, these protesters, I feel have not been condemned to the fullest extent that we would have been condemned.
And it's just, there's a false equivalency. You see them compare this again to the Black Lives Matter, but they are rioting based on rumor and innuendo. Here's the thing. If you're going to protest an election, that's fine. You have to go to court. When you go to court, you have to have proof. There were 62 court cases that got thrown out. We have, and I wrote a few, live footage of these people, either the before math, the aftermath, or them being killed. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, Laquan McDonald, Ahmaud Arbery. That's 5 out of 500. But there's footage of them either being killed or what happened before or after they were killed.
Right. I didn't see one knee on anybody's neck yesterday.
No. They haven't. There's no videos of people burning ballots. There's no evidence.
The young lady who was killed on yesterday was killed inside the Capitol building. She had no business in there anyway. Breonna Taylor was killed in her house. In her house.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense.
And by the way, she died for a cause. The lady yesterday died for a cause that she believed in, and Trump will be at Mar-a-Lago golfing in a couple of weeks, enjoying his life, and she's dead.
And so,
by the way, the winners in this, let me tell you who's winning right now. Winners in this situation, let me tell you.
there are winners here?
There are winners. China and Russia. This is what Putin wanted. This is why Putin wanted Trump elected. You have to understand there are global socio-economic consequences to what is happening. For all that ranting and raving that Trump did about China, this puts them in the position to be a superpower. I actually read an article where they said China's going to be the biggest economy and superpower by 2028. This makes us look sweet. This hastens that process.
And so I was going to ask you, why does this hasten the process?
The world economy, stocks, bonds, the strength of the dollar is based on the fact that we have a stable government. Our government doesn't look stable anymore.
Oh my gosh.
There's no stability.
The grounds that they were protesting on yesterday,
ground.
it's supposed to be sacred. How were these individuals able to breach? And I won't even say breach. They were allowed.
They were allowed.
They were allowed into the Capitol
So
building.
we can't talk about Cuba and Venezuela and China protests. We are on equal footing with them.
Yeah.
This has brought America down.
We've leveled the playing
notches.
field.
It is very level now.
I don't want to come in today and just, complain.
No, you have to have solutions.
We want to, I guess, offer up solutions.
Yeah, there have to be solutions. One of the things I talked about the fact that Trump's a sociopath. It's not a Republican or Democrat thing, really. It's we elected a sociopath. He doesn't care about anybody.
Yeah.
And Obama said, because they were talking about, before Trump got elected, they were like, well, he might calm down. And Obama said, no, when you become president, it magnifies whatever shortcomings you have. So he was a sociopath before, and he's gotten 20 times worse. So
speak to, did you guys know they had to close down his Twitter account?
Oh, thank you. So that's the other thing too. Well, let's add to that. So in the future, we have to take away some of the power of the president, not from an executive what they can do perspective, but if they start to go off the rails, it's too difficult to impeach. These social media companies need to take a stronger stand. They're talking about, oh, we're going to shut them down for 24 hours or 12 hours. You can't make threats to people on Twitter or Facebook. That's what he does. Now that the Democrats have the majority, they have to use it. They have to protect voting. They have to make sure DC and Puerto Rico are represented properly as states or whatever needs to happen, or in the Senate. We have to vote. I know we feel like, you have to understand when you vote, it's incremental change. It's not going to change your life. It's not. But it will create small changes and will help protect you and keep your children safe.
And to that voting piece, I would like for those of us who have platforms, whether you're a YouTuber, any kind of influencer, a celebrity, please stop with the your vote isn't going to count rhetoric. Please, let's stop that, because it's hurtful.
Or your vote isn't going to change anything.
Please stop that. If that is how you feel, please keep that to yourself, please.
And when you think about voting too, I think one of the reasons people think their vote isn't going to change anything, you have to understand with voting, you've got to vote for your local people too. It's not the president. By the time the president does something and it trickles down to you, you're going to feel some impact, but not a lot. If you vote for somebody locally, your local mayor, your local police chief, local judges, that's where you see a lot of the impact.
Let me say this too in regards to Stacey Abrams. She lost the race for governor to Brian Kemp. But how might things have been different here in Georgia had we elected Stacey Abrams? Now, what I will say too, as we get ready to wrap this up regarding Stacey Abrams, she did not collect her marbles and go home with her tissue paper feelings and start crying. She stayed in the fight. She stayed in the fight. So what I would say to those of you who are possibly watching this and you are the radical right, take a look at Stacey Abrams. Use her as an example of how you are supposed to lose with dignity. Left, her heart was still in politics and she saw a need there.
That's another thing too we have to talk about, and this goes back to the vindication and where it is kind of funny to see Brian Kemp and these local Georgia Republicans have Trump turn on them and get their asses handed to them by their own party.
Trump has called Kemp every name but a child of God.
Lord have mercy. And it's so funny to see the guys that run the election here, they're like, oh, Trump is stoking the fears of violence and we're getting death threats. But we've been getting death threats all along as African Americans. We've gotten racist death threats on this channel for videos.
Welcome to the family.
But now it's a problem. So to see the Republican Party squirm here has been
I tell you what, so again, going back to last night, just on the phone with family members, friends, even looking at stuff on social media, it's like African Americans are just sitting back like... It's vindication, but it's frustration. It's funny on the one hand because... It got nothing to do with me.
You see how we feel, but then it's frustrating because it gets treated differently by the media. It gets spoken about differently.
Usually in the media, we, individuals that look like us, are the hoodlums, we're the thugs.
They're finally using the word thug.
That was them last night.
And I want to say this too.
That was them last night.
I want to say this too. We're laughing, and I'm glad what you said about the far right. At the end of the day, I have no problem with two political parties. I have no problem with Republicans. I think you do need balance. It has gotten way too fractured and too extreme. And I think most of the extremity is on the right. I genuinely don't think it's on the left. And we saw that yesterday. Yeah. The left isn't storming the Capitol. Black Lives Matter didn't storm the Capitol. I want to see politics get back to being boring. Like I said, I didn't even know that they had to go and do a count of the electoral votes in the Senate. The only reason we know all this stuff is because it's so controversial. Do y'all remember when we didn't really watch politics? Do y'all remember that?
So guys, again, I hope and pray no one was offended by what was said here today. We did make light of a few situations, but in all honesty, guys, this is serious.
Lives were lost.
This could happen again. Lives were lost. There was an individual, a young lady was shot, and I think they said three other individuals just lost their lives, maybe due to the stress or the gases or whatever that were in the air. So let's just continue as we try to move through 21 to pray for one another, respect one another, and instead of, I don't know, here now pointing blame, let's look for solutions. I think the first solution that we need to start with is just like you said, babe, voting locally. But drop down, leave a comment, let us know your thoughts on the recent events. Let us know how you feel 2021 is going, and we'll see you all in the next video. Bye guys.